Welcome back to Read Poems Every Day. This morning I finished reading Donika Kelly's 2025 poetry collection, The Natural Order of Things. If you've watched a few of my other videos, you may have come across some of my comments about the opening poem of this collection, Brood, which served as an example for my opening series of videos on the different steps of my process of slowly getting to know a poem. I thought I might celebrate finishing this book, not because I'm glad it's over, but because it's so great, by looking at another poem that Kelly includes in the collection. This is a poem published 3 years ago in the June 2023 issue of Poetry magazine, and we are lucky then to have it available on Poetry Foundation's website. This is What is the Measure by Donika Kelly. I'm going to read it and then move through some of my steps of slowly getting to know a poem. I may not spend as much time on each step as I'd like to. I'm still trying to get my feet under me with respect to how long these videos should be, how many long form videos I want to complete in any given week or any given month. But I hope I hit on all of them just enough to give you a sense of how wonderful Kelly is as a poet and how beautiful and remarkable this poem is. What is the measure? I catalogue what I cannot capture. The sun, its ragged stumble into rock face. The precise elevation of this plateau or the next. The sea, of course, against which everything is measured. My tools are insufficient, inexact. For instance, there is no way to measure the peak against the distance from the tip of one ring finger to the next, no matter my arm's position, outstretched, limp, akimbo. For instance, there is no way to weigh the earth pushed out of earth against the gravity of my body, its bones, its sacks, its meat, and animating light. I submit. I do not constitute the mountain. This, in spite of the palette of old quilts and newly fallen maple leaves I've made at its immeasurable base. I submit. I do not constitute the field, although I have harrowed its length, its width with my narrow feet, my slow step. Never mind I hear what scurries or scatters, what burrows or bounds. Never mind I raise my hand to hover the bent grass, the echinacea's bald crown. All of which withers or writhes, all of which is new or nearly the same before my foot's next fall. I submit, as with the mountain, the field, as with the field, you. Ineluctable as a season, sun ragging the rock face. Your arm nearly as long as mine, your palm wider, your mouth a beginning, your eyes, of course, against which everything else is measured. You harrow and the summit writhes. Your broad foot falls and the field akimbo gives up its gravity, lets loose its bodies, its bones, thrums an animating light. Breathtaking poem, my goodness. I have gone in early and highlighted I think every 10th line. I'm going to zoom out just a bit so we get a better sense of when line breaks are happening. So we see line 10 right here. Let me just make sure I've got this right. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yep, that's 20, 30, 40. So 42 lines, I believe, in the poem, unless I've miscounted. 42 lines. It is broken into stanzas, though of course the stanza length and the stanza organization varies. So it has moments of patterning when it comes to the line counts, but then they start to vary across the poem. I've noticed this in several of the poems in Kelly's collection. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh boy. And then how do you count this? Let's just do it. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then I'll put a question mark after it. 17 stanzas? I think this is one thing I quite admire about Kelly's poetry is it clearly is it clearly is working in the sort of conventional tradition of lyric poetry where words are organized into lines and stanzas, but then you get moments like this where that sort of conventional framework for counting or getting a handle on a poem's organization starts to break down, even if the poem's sense itself isn't breaking down. It's not as if I look at these lines here. I think this is this is line 30, I believe. It's not as if I look at lines 30 through, say, 35 and get completely confused about what's going on. It's just that there's something about the sort of scrambling of that order of the poetic order of things that affords the poet and affords the poem something. So anyway, 17 stanzas, maybe? Does it matter? I don't know, but it helps to get a sense that there are quite a few line breaks that are more than just line breaks, but sort of section breaks, stanza breaks. Okay. The kind of breaking that happens here is maybe we need different words to describe, and words I don't necessarily have, though there might be plenty of conventional vocabulary to cover it. So 42 lines, 17 stanzas. In terms of enjambments, there are several. There are several here that although fewer than maybe other poems. No enjambment in the first two stanzas, but then we have three in a row. Measure the, tip of, matter my. So those would be, let's see, lines 8 to 9, 7 to 8, and 6 to 7. And then we have several others that follow. Let's keep going. This is some of the fun part of reading poetry, is just doing the counting. 10 to 11, earth against. All right, then we have two lines with punctuated pauses, and then a third line, a fourth line. So this is line 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We have to get to line 16 before we have another enjambment. This is quilts and 16 to 17. Made at, that's 17 to 18. Then we have several other, or we have more punctuated pauses here till we get to line 21. So let's see, that's line 20, 21, 22, that's 23 to 24. Hover the. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 to 26. Same before. That's 28 to 29. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Yes. And then we don't have another instance of enjambment until very near the end of the poem, up its, which is a great enjambment, gives up its gravity. I love that that's an enjambed phrase. That's line 40 to 41. So the entirety of the 30s here are have a punctuated pause at the end. I submit, mountain, field, you, rock face, palm, course, measure, writhes. So lines 30 through 39. Did I count that right? 30, 31, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. And then we get to line 40 and we have another enjambed line and then that. Um, Although, but in saying that, it's not as if we have a lot of breathless moments. The poem uses lots of punctuation, so we should probably track that as well. Punctuation. We have just a few more things to do here before, let me just turn on Do Not Disturb. All right, let's try that again. So we should do punctuation again. Let's look at punctuation. So we have colons throughout the poem. So that's lines 1, line 6, line 10. So you can see a colon here, and here. And there follow certain phrases that repeat. So for instance, and I submit, these are repeated phrases in the poem that also participate in the kind of organization of its lines and stanzas. So for instance appears at the beginning of stanzas, and then submit serves as the interleaved line of its own that introduces separate stanzas. So that's line 10, line 14, line 19. Do we have another colon? Yep. Then line 30. I think that's it for the colon. So there are quite a few important moments. So the I submit here, of course, repeats these first two. Then we have the for instance, and then the opening one as well. There are commas, of course, throughout the poem. Periods, line 4, line 5, line 9. Oop, I missed a colon in line 9. This probably happens all the time in these videos. Line 13. Line 15. And 18. 22. Maybe I should have just said everywhere. 24. No, I think we need to mark them out. 32. 35. 38. And 42. I probably missed some, but you see that the high frequency of periods is also helps us get a sense of where the sentences begin and end, and the sentences do in some ways align quite nicely with the stanza breaks in the poem. So in that sense, it's a quite formal poem, highly organized. There's high correspondence, at least in the moment for me, high correspondence between the syntactic units and the sort of breaks into stanzas. Although plenty of lines, of course, syntax spills over from line to line, not just through enjambment, but through punctuated pauses as well. Um, I hope what I'm saying makes sense. So the sentences sort of tend to be tucked within the stanza sections or stanzaic sections, whereas the lines, they spill over from line to line. Anyway, so I've said basically the same thing 2 or 3 times. Okay, so several colons, commas everywhere, lots of periods, but studying that and tracking that has helped us get a sense of how the stanzas and sentences sync up. We have a dash in line, I think that's 26. And that's the only one, I believe. Yes, that's correct. We do have a semicolon. I saw it somewhere. We have a semicolon somewhere. Yes, near the end. There's probably more than this, but it's the only one that's standing out to me at the moment. Line 39 here, after rides, which is a good word to have a semicolon following. But then it maybe is worth noting comma plus indentation, break plus indentation as a kind of super comma or a certain kind of way of punctuating and lineating and arranging what's on the page. So this point might better be saved for the form section, but this would be line 31 and 33, 31 to 32 maybe, 33 to 34. And I think that's all I wanted to point out. I do think there's an apostrophe somewhere. Echinaceas, I saw it. Foots, so that's line 29. Echinaceas, also 26. So we have their echinaceas bald crown, foots next fall, um, sort of a parallel structure of possessive apostrophes there. Okay, I think that's all I see in terms of that. When I watch this back, I'm sure I'll see plenty of other instances. It's in tracking pronouns that I mean, I think we really tap into the power of the poem. So we have I in line one. I'm not going to maybe track all of them, but and then it's in line two. So we have first person, third person. That's sort of the point I'm making there. Um, we have my in line nine. Again, it's in line. Again, I probably shouldn't do this for the whole poem. Line 12, line 13, then line 14 for I, and 15. Maybe I'll just dot the I so that we're aware of that. And then it's as well. So the primary pronouns in the first part of the poem so far are I, it's, and then we get some my in line 22. Let's keep going here. And 29. It's really the you that starts to pop then, because the poem, the poem doesn't necessarily signal that it's going to take this turn until quite a way in. So we get to line 34. It's line 34 before we get the you here, and the you then joins. By paying attention to the pronouns, we see that the you joins the mountain, the field as primary references, primary, let's say, surfaces or geological features, spaces, objects being cataloged throughout the poem. Um, so you, we'll just add your here too, you and your. So we have, that's 34, 35, so 36, 37, 39, 40. So we have a high frequency of you and your in those within just the last 8 lines of the poem. Okay, so those are that's counting some beans in Donika Kelly's "What Is the Measure." I'm at 20 minutes, so I think I am going to pause there. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow or at another time to finish this process of slowly getting to know what is the measure. I think it's a poem well worth that amount of effort, and I think I do want to start experimenting with maybe doing a long form study of a single poem, but stretching it across a couple videos so that you're not sitting in one place, um, or that I'm sitting in one place for an hour recording a video. Okay. Well, thanks for spending some time with me, reading Kelly's poem, and maybe we'll come back to it tomorrow.